Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Give me a sec.
Yep. All right, all right. Welcome, everybody. Please go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know your name and where you're connected from before we get this training started.
Cleve Pearson, Albany, Georgia.
Welcome.
Cecilia from Adelanto, California.
Cecilia, welcome.
Good morning, it's David Ramos calling from Inland Empire, sunny Southern California.
Welcome, brother.
What's up?
Jessica from Encore headquarters in Downey.
Welcome.
Francisco from Atlanta, Georgia.
Nice. Okay, this is a time, ladies and gentlemen, we're letting a couple other folks in. This is a good time for you to text your team, make a couple phone calls. We're going to get started in 2 minutes. So in 2 minutes, you can make 3, 4, 5 phone calls, send a couple text messages. Make sure that anybody from your team that wants to learn how to recruit, wants to learn how to team build, gets on this training. As of next week, this training will officially be every Thursday at 10 a.m. It's not going to be Fridays. It's going to be every Thursday. We have things to do on Friday these last couple of weeks, but moving forward, please make a note as of next week, this will be a normal training on our calendar for those of you guys that want to learn how to build a team and recruit. You want to get on this training. Thursdays, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Want to make sure that you mark your calendars, and we'll see you guys here. So not only that, Thursdays is a great day, right? Because we have the business presentation on Thursday evening. So you guys can get on here, get some of the knowledge, some of the energy, so you could go out and recruit a couple folks and invite a couple folks to the Thursday evening business overview. So those of you guys that just chimed in, go ahead and let us know your name and where you are connected from.
You got Johnny from Southern California.
Welcome, Johnny. Okay. We are good. We are 5 minutes after the hour, so we always like to give you guys 4 or 5 minutes before we get started. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce the speaker and trainer for today's training. So make sure that you guys get your mental track shoes on. Make sure that you guys have something to write down. Make sure that you're taking notes. That would be my recommendation. And also, if you are able to be uninterrupted during this time, be uninterrupted during this time and take copious notes. I know some of you guys may be driving and you're listening in. Hey, focus on the road, right? Just listen. But those of you guys that do have the ability to take notes and really pay attention and be uninterrupted, I highly, highly, highly encourage that you do just that, right? Take notes and make sure that there are no interruptions where you are. So the gentleman that I'm going to introduce, ladies and gentlemen, is a gentleman that I've worked with in the past. I probably met him in 2020 or 2021. We worked together for some time. After that, we decided to, go our separate ways as far as business was concerned, but we always kept the relationship open. He built an amazing team in the life insurance business, one of the biggest network marketing companies around even today, probably 40, 50-year-old company. He was able to make millions with that company, sold that business for a lot of money, over 7 figures, retired, went to the Dominican Republic, retired after helping so many people and making so much money. But he realized, hey, man, I'm too young to just be retired and not do much. So he wanted to get back into the industry. He decided to get back and get started working with us. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I've got my friend, Mr. Ed Ayala.
JC, thank you so much. I appreciate it. If you guys could throw some love in the chat for JC, our great president. One of the biggest reasons I'm here, JC, is because of you. You know that, right? It's not about selling water or solar or recruiting. There's a lot of companies out there, but there's only one company that has a JC Rangel. And because of you, I got the opportunity to meet our other great, partners, Wences and Mr. Bean and the Pachecos, right? And guys, I'm telling you, we have a long-term legacy company here to build. Okay, this reminds me of 1977. I wasn't with the company at that time, not that old, but this reminds me of when Art Williams talks about the founding partners of Primerica, and they've been around now. Yeah, you're right, 48 years, and they're doing like $4 billion a year in revenue, and a massive success story. I really believe that's what we have here. So you guys are here at the infancy stage. Be excited. We're blessed to be here. Be grateful that we have such great owners with integrity who know what they're doing. Okay, the beautiful thing about JC and Wentz is they know what they're doing, and So I'll tell you guys, my story very quickly and here in 2 minutes. And maybe the reason why you want to pay attention is because I was not a recruiter. Okay, obviously when I got started into network marketing, I was a New York City detective. What I knew how to do was, do observations, do undercover operations, and lock up drug lords. Okay, during the 1990s and the big crack era that was happening in New York City, unfortunately, right? That's all I knew how to do. And I got recruited into Primerica part-time just to make some extra money. And I remember the point that changed me into a recruiter, JC. I was at an event. It was I think like a Super Saturday. And there's a guy on stage, he's making about $300,000 a year. And sometimes when you look at a person on stage, you go like, wait a minute, that person's making $300,000. I'm talking about like in 1995. That's pretty good money, right? And I'm like, I'm not looking down on the guy, but I'm like, that guy, he looked all sloppy and could barely speak. I'm like, he made like 350 last year. I made that year like maybe 30 or 40,000. He made 10 times what I made. But I'm like, this doesn't make sense. He's not 10 times better than me. And then I figured out that I was selling life insurance and investments. He was building distribution. That's when the light bulb went on. I was like, wait a minute. So here's what I want you guys to write down right out of the beginning. This is one of the most famous quotes out there if you want to become a recruiter or builder, right? So it's not just a recruiter, becoming a builder. And that is, you sell to survive, but you recruit to retire. Sell to survive, recruit to retire. So don't ever, JC or myself, we're never going to say to you, don't sell. You should sell as you're building. How do you sell? You sell by recruiting and training people in their warm market. That's how you sell. You sell through people's warm market. That means that we would not recommend, if you want to build something big here, you want to build a dynasty, is to be out there, buying leads and selling solar or selling water. Can you do that? Yes, if you want to pay the bills. But your focus, your business philosophy should be, I recruit to train that person in their warm market, help them learn the business, help them make money, right? You become a mentor. And that's how I build my business, recruiting and training people in their warm market. So anyway, because of that Super Saturday, it was a paradigm shift for me, right? I was like, wow, I need to learn how to recruit. I just knew how to sell a couple of life insurance policies, right? And I was still a full-time New York City detective. And then there was an event. There was a contest, excuse me. It was a contest for a Puerto Rico trip that Primerica was running. And if you guys don't know, I am Puerto Rican. I had been to Puerto Rico at that time in my life, probably 20-something times. We used to go every year for summer vacation, right? So when they announced the Puerto Rico trip, I'm like, wow, big deal, right? I'm from Puerto Rico. It's nothing exciting. That would be like JC Wright going to Mexico or something, right? It's like, wow, I was born in Mexico. What's the big deal? So I wasn't excited about the Puerto Rico trip. I was excited about the fact that a guy named Bob Safford, who at that time was making about $4 million a year in the 90s, okay? He was going to be there, and he was my upline, JC. He was my upline. He was like direct to Art Williams. Can you imagine? He was direct to Art Williams, right? He was one of the biggest builders. And I knew he was going to be there. So I won the trip. I won that trip to Puerto Rico, not for the trip, but because I wanted to meet Bob Safford. And he was my upline, but guess what? Back then, he had about 30,000 people in his organization. He was a gigantic piece of the company, okay? He didn't even override me. The structure that we had was kind of like, remember, our old company, Flower, right? It sounds like Flower. Remember our old company, right? It had 6-level generation. That's it. You cut off at 6 levels. Well, that's how Primerica was. It was a 6-level generation. I was like level, I don't know, 20 or 30. I was way down. So he was never going to make any money on me. However, I said, let me win this trip. I did. And I'm stalking the guy, right? I'm stalking him. He gets off stage and they call the break and I go beeline right to him. And I say, excuse me, Mr. Safford, you don't know me. And by the way, I was a vice president. Oh, by the way, I was a VP at that. I just become a vice president at that event, got promoted. And I said, sir, you don't know me, but can I buy you lunch? I want to learn how to become a recruiter. I want to build an organization like you have, sir. And, he's like, okay, yeah. Now think about this, right? JC, I was nervous, man. I was nervous talking to this guy. Meanwhile, I can knock down a door, right, with drug dealers with guns, right? No nerves at all, but I'm nervous talking to this guy. I'm like, oh my God, this guy, it was making $4 million a year back then. It was like overwhelming to me. He said yes. He said yes, okay? He says, yeah, no problem. He goes, why don't we do this? Tomorrow at the break, after the general session, we'll grab lunch together. Man, I couldn't sleep that night. I was so excited. There's a message here before I continue. Are you that excited when JC or Mr. Bean share their wisdom with you for free? Are you that excited? See, I had to fight to win that contest, which wasn't easy because I didn't have an organization. I had to win it on personal life insurance sales. That you could win it by personal sales, a small group, and then you could win it by team volume. You could win that trip to Puerto Rico. I won it on personal sales because I wanted to meet with that guy because I said, man, he's in my upline. Maybe he'll give me a chance. We meet for lunch. This will give you a timestamp as the time period. I had my micro cassette recorder, JC. Micro cassettes. I had about 6 micro cassettes with me, or a little micro cassette recorder, little Panasonic, and I put it on the table. And we're about, where he orders lunch. And I said, sir, would you mind if I record? He goes, no, I recommend it. Record it. Good idea. Anyway, what I'm going to share with you today is some of the wisdom I got from Mr. Bob Safford. Let me tell you what happened, okay? After he shared his recruiting and building principles with me, the next year I was able to leave NYPD, okay? In 18 months, from having 3 or 4 people on my team, when I met him, I had about 3 or 4 people on the team that, when you go to a meeting, you got to call them up, 3 or 4 people, the 3 or 4 guys or girls on your team, you hope they show up. That was my business. A couple guys, right? So 18 months later, we become the #1 recruiting team in the entire company, okay? Now, to do that in a small company is not that difficult, but to do it in a company that had already been around about 20 years, they were already in business for 20 years, they had people that were giants. To be able to do that was like, doing the 4-minute mile. And I don't blame, it's not me. It was his principles that I applied, okay? And yeah, we became the #1 recruiters in the company for literally about 3.5, 4 years. Every month, #1, every month, #1, okay? There was 200,000 people in that company. There were 6,000 vice presidents. So when you're a VP, it's kind of like here being like an executive director, I would say, right? You make 6 figures. There was about 6,000 people making over 6 figures. I was competing with them. So that's why I have the credibility to share that with you, okay? After I sold my business, about 2 years, I was retired. I got offered an opportunity to do a startup. It was a skincare company called Bellamora. And I became an investor in there and, I said, I like the product. And I said, you know what? It was a binary. First time I ever saw a binary was there. We developed that company and it was different, okay? But we had a free sign-up, free sample campaign. Long story short, within 60 days, we brought in 64,000 people and we did 2.4 million in sales in our first week, okay? That's not something that's going to help you here. Don't worry about that. But I just want to let you know, I understand recruiting old school, building it one at a time. I also understand it on a scale, okay? And as I get into my presentation, let me tell you this. This company is about to go into scale, okay? What I'm going to share with you today, the beautiful masterpiece of a job that Sam Bean did with the playbook and the 4x16, that is going to take this company into orbit. Okay. That's going to start multiplying your teams if you become a recruiter and a team builder. Okay. So let me get a little presentation here. Yeah, guys and girls, I love recruiting. Ask me why I love recruiting. Somebody asked me why I love recruiting.
Why do you love recruiting?
Because you get to bless other people with the same opportunity that you got. That's why I love recruiting. It's not so much because of the overrides. Yes, you're going to make a lot of money in overrides. It's because if you were blessed, let me just find my presentation. If you got blessed with an opportunity, why would you not want to bless others? So write that down, okay? To me, the most important part about recruiting, okay, here we go, is that you get to bless other people with the same opportunity. See, when you look at it that way, I don't bother people. I feel I'm giving people the gift of a lifetime to be part of BYLD.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. All right. This is actually the presentation I was going to do at the Super Saturday. And JC saved me, right? I got a little bit sick there, and I was like, JC, take over. See, thank you, JC. So this actually was what I was going to cover with you guys. So I'm going to jump around a little bit today, and you know what? I'd even like to do a little Q&A, anything recruiting and team building at the end. We could do a Q&A. So if you could, JC, later, right, we'll open it up. People could ask any questions about recruiting or team building, right? We'll keep it specific to that. So let me ask you guys this question. Why is it that people who see the exact same opportunity don't see what I see? Throw a 1 in the chat if you've ever asked yourself that question, right? Like, why don't they see what I see, right? The presentation that was done at the showcase last night, all of the people that were there, it was like 60, 70 people, right? Everybody that was there heard the exact same information. Why is it some of them are going to say, not interested? It's a pyramid. This doesn't work. And then someone like you and I is going to say, oh my God, I've been waiting for this my whole life. Okay? Well, it's based on their programming up until the point that they got there. So all their programming for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, as whatever their age is, all that programming is what leads to them to make a decision on the business opportunity. That's not something you can control. You cannot control that. I'm not even a big person. I'm trying to overcome objections, you know, maybe 1 or 2, but trying to overcome objections when somebody says, no, I'm not interested, right? I mean, there's billions of people on the planet, right, that we could recruit. So the main thing is they just don't see what you see, right? And it's because of their programming, right? So one of my favorite sayings is we're born to be successful, right? God does not create junk, okay? The day you were born to be successful. But unfortunately, we're programmed for failure. What does that mean? I'm not talking about failure as far as being a good family person or your health, right? I don't know how you were programmed. I'm talking about financial failure. Okay, I should actually put that in there. Why is that? Because we're given the wrong playbook. We're told go to school, get good grades, get a good job, work yourself up the corporate ladder, and you're going to have a great life. But then we find out that when you get a job, right, somebody else dictates your income. And if they dictate your income, they dictate your destiny. Okay? Supposedly you get a pension, right? With NYPD, hey, we're going to give you a pension. Actually, a pretty good pension is 50% of what your last year's pay is. So if you made $60,000, you get $30,000 for life. But you know what I figured out quickly? I said, wait a minute. I'm barely making it on 60,000. How the heck am I going to make it on 30? So this pension crap doesn't really fly. I got to go get another job, right? After I get supposedly retired. So you were programmed for financial failure, okay? And I did go over this on the Super Saturday. I'm remembering now, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time with it. But if you have never, read or listened to this book, this was another paradigm shift in my life. I remember when I saw this at an event, and it was like another aha moment. It was like, wow, no wonder. Okay, I was not making much money because I was over here. Well, I was in this quadrant, right? I had a job, and that's the problem with a job. okay, you don't get paid what you're worth in a job. And then you might say, well, I'm going to go into selling. Sales is good. Problem with sales, right? Salesperson, doctor, lawyer. By the way, doctors and lawyers, do you guys know this? They get paid a commission. They have to sell people on coming into their dental office or into their law. They got to sell that client to generate money. Doctors don't get paid a salary. Yeah, they do when they're like intern in a hospital, but that ain't much money. Okay, for them to go make six figures, multiple six figures, they got to go build a business. They got to obtain clients. Okay, now they don't call it commission because that sounds dirty, right? They call it a fee for service. They make it look pretty, but it's the same darn thing. They got to get clients. The client got to pay them a fee so that they can make money. So the problem with that model is what? If a doctor doesn't show up to his or her office, they don't make no money. If they don't generate clients, they don't make no money. I always talk about a heart surgeon. Heart surgeons make on average about $500,000 a year to $1 million. So they get paid pretty well. But how much would they make if they went on vacation for a month? Zero. They make nothing. You do. Because you have a residual income model. You have a team building model. You build a team, they produce sales, solar, water, you get paid passive income overrides. And you've got the dual team, residual income. You get paid a residual income. So you have a better opportunity than someone that went to school for 12, 15 years. Think about that, okay? When I saw this, the right side, becoming a business owner, it changed my world. I was like, wait a minute, no wonder I was broke. I was on the left side. Okay. And obviously, that means you have other people working with you. You get paid on their efforts. So it's unlimited. Throw some fire in the chat for unlimited income. Is that a beautiful thing? Unlimited income? Some of you still don't believe it. You know how I know you don't believe it? You're not recruiting. When you recruit, you build unlimited income. Okay. So what happens now? You are able to multiply the hours that God gives you, okay? I know you're special. I know you're a great human being, but you know what the problem is? You have the same amount of hours as Jeff Bezos has or Elon Musk. They've got 24 hours a day to invest. That's what they do, folks. They invest their time. They don't waste their time. Let's talk about that before I continue, okay? Every day when your feet hit the floor, you're the wealthiest people in the world. Did you know that? You are. Because why? God gives you 24 hours to invest. But what do most people do? You know what most people do? They spend their time, waste their time, squander their time. Those are precious minutes that you could be investing in growing your business. You know how you do it? By recruiting and building. When you recruit and build, you are investing your time because you're going to get an ROI. You're going to get a return on investment. But if you're wasting time designing flyers and chit-chatting on social media or watching the news or whatever, I'm not saying you can't do that stuff, right? But you don't do it between, to me, the money-making hours are 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Write that down. From 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., those 12 hours are precious because that's when you can talk to people. Okay. With regulations, right? Do not call lists and stuff like that. You don't want to be, reaching out to people outside of those hours, right? Because it's, kind of against the law or regulations, right? But so now you got 12 hours a day to invest, okay, in recruiting and building people, right? So then what happens? Here we have the Smart Money Club, right? You get now to invest that money and have your money working for you. Write this down. You will never get wealthy for the work you do. Never. You're never going to get wealthy, for the work that you do. You will only get wealthy for the work you cause others to do. That's how you multiply your time and you can get wealthy. And there's two types of way to earn money, big money. You have people at work and you got dollars at work. People at work, dollars at work. You can recruit an unlimited number of people. You multiply your income through overrides, right, and residual income. And your dollars work for you. And you know what's great about dollars? I don't know if you know this. Dollars invested, right? They don't get tired. They don't cry. They don't complain. There's no discrimination. They don't take days off, right? They just keep working. Your dollars work for you. And that's one of the things that I'm glad we're teaching here, JC, because that's what we did in Primerica. We told everybody in Primerica, look, it's not just what you make, it's what you invest and get your dollars to work for you. So throw some fire in the chat for the fact that we are probably one of the few companies in the industry that is also going to teach you how to multiply your wealth, multiply your dollars, right? So it's not just about making money, it's about, right, growing your income. And yeah, I'm so excited about that here, okay? Now, let me help you out with something here. I didn't have time to bring it up, but you can go to ChatGPT. I love ChatGPT now. I just started using it recently. And I asked ChatGPT, I said, what percentage of people get recruited into a network marketing opportunity? Okay, so I didn't say build, obviously, because ChatGPT doesn't know build yet. But general, what are the conversion numbers, right? What if you show 10 people a network marketing business, how many of them get on board? So write this down. Between 10 to 30%. 10 to 30%. So that means that out of every 10 presentations that somebody sees, right? 1 to 3 of them are going to come on board. The average is 2 out of 10. 3 is above average, and 1 is a little bit below average. So if I were you, maybe base it on 10%. And I kind of figured out why. Here's why. It's because 10% of the U.S. population is an independent contractor. This includes independent contractors, small business owners. Anybody that owns a business is 10% of the U.S. population. Think about that. Remember what I told you about programming? Remember what I told you about programming, that people have been programmed to go get a job, work for somebody else, right? That's how they're programmed. Well, guess what? Those 90% of the people are programmed for that. Have you ever had somebody say, after they watch the presentation, throw a yes in the chat if this ever happened to you. They see a presentation. It talks about owning a solar brokerage. It talks about investing, $199, own your own business. And then they ask you this question. Hey, how much do I make in my salary? How much do I get paid every 2 weeks? That ever happened to you besides me? Right? I'm like, what presentation did you see? This is not a salary, right? This is own your own business. And if you want to use this line, I've been using this line for years. Somebody says, this is salary. And you know what I always say? I go, listen, JC, I would never insult you with a salary, okay? Your worth is much higher than the salary. We want to pay you what you're worth, JC. Isn't that a much better way to get paid? And some of them, it razzles their brain. They're like, what the heck? Yeah. So I get that salary crap right out of the way. But think about that, right? Most people are programmed. By the time they got to the presentation, they're programmed. And they're thinking about a salary. Guaranteed, secure. That's not security, right? Security is taking risk. So only 10% of the U.S. population is willing to take a risk and become an independent contractor or small business owner. That's why 1 out of 10 is a good number, okay? But as you get better, your confidence, your credibility, right? As you get better, you will convert a higher percentage. You're going to start going 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10, right? So anything that you do, if you say, you know what, I want to bring on 4 builders this month. Well, make sure that you're doing 10 presentations a week, right? Out of those 10, you'll get 1 a week. That's 4. Then you know what's amazing about life? Through experience, you get better and better. All of a sudden, 2 months later, you're converting 2 out of 10 and 3 out of 10, right? Okay. Okay, what was this all about here? Okay, this is just to share with you that the numbers, the odds of numbers even apply to professional sports, okay? Look at this here. Your odds of becoming a professional athlete, right? We saw the Super Bowl last weekend on Sunday. Think about it, okay? Look at the numbers there to become, let me just get my Zoom thing out of the way here so I can see it, right? It's 1 in 4,000 plus to get into the NFL, okay? That's going from high school to college to the pros. So everything is numbers, folks. By the way, they get recruited. Some of you have this adverse reaction. You're afraid to say the word recruiter. The NFL recruits, the NBA recruits, the Major League Baseball, they recruit. They have scouts. That's their job, is to go to high schools and colleges and watch baseball players, basketball players, and to recruit the best. So write this down. You are a professional business scout. That's what you are. You're looking for talent. You're looking to build your team. Stop being worried about being a recruiter. Recruiters, they recruit million-dollar athletes, okay? How about the military? Don't they recruit? Yes, okay? They recruit people into the military. Companies recruit, corporations recruit. They just call it an HR department. It's the same darn thing. When a CEO, right, they got to go recruit another CEO. Everybody recruits. Every organization recruits, okay? Churches recruit people right into their church. They got to grow. The pastor has to grow the church. They may not call it recruiting. It's the same darn thing. Every organization of human beings recruits, right? Okay. All the religious leaders were recruiters. Think about that, right? Right? Their mission, their religious views, right? Their vision, their philosophy, you're recruiting to that. We're doing the same thing here. You are a recruiter. So write it down. I am a recruiter. Write it down. I am a recruiter. I'm a professional recruiter. And I am blessing people with the BYLD opportunity. That's what you're doing. You're blessing others. You're not bothering them. You're not harassing them. You're exposing them to the greatest business opportunity that there is. Now, if you don't believe that, that's the first step. You need to believe you've got the best opportunity that exists, okay? Now, what are the benefits of warm recruiting? Because here we're talking about warm recruiting, okay? Here are the benefits, okay? Number one, right? My favorite is you're finding the 10% business-minded people, the people that are already looking for a business. They're real estate professionals, mortgage brokers, right? Anybody that owns a business, right? They're already open because they are programmed to build a business. They're not programmed to have a job like the other 90%. And the 1% champions, okay? Let me give you another one here. Out of every 100 people you recruit, out of every 100 people that come into your team, about 1% are going to go big time. They're going to become your directors, executive directors, and national directors, the 1%ers, okay? Does that mean that you can make it? No, you should see yourself as a 1%er. Let me give you another little piece of wisdom here. Sometimes people will ask you, hey, let me ask you a question. What percentage of people make it at BYLD? How would you answer that? If somebody says to you, you know what? I'm a numbers guy. What percentage of people make it here? Let me give you the answer. The answer is 100% of the people that want to make it in BYLD. It's 100%. Okay? Why? Because here, if you want to get to the top, the system is designed for you to get to the top. Everybody here can get to the top of the company. There's no racial discrimination, right? There's no DEI, all this stuff that's going on in the news. We don't have that here. Women get paid exactly what men get paid. The color of your skin doesn't matter. Everybody gets paid equally. So out of every 100, 1% is going to go do something big. Okay? The second reason that's great about warm recruiting is, and by the way, you might say, Ed, I don't have, I got to go cold. There's nothing wrong with cold recruiting. But let me give you a tip here. You go cold to go warm immediately. Okay? The purpose of cold recruiting is not to stay in cold recruiting. The purpose of cold recruiting is to find, right, an Ignacio, to find an Erica, right, to find a Don, and immediately taproot. See, so if I find Don here, or I find Julio, JC, and this is me, and they're cold, this one's cold, I immediately want to taproot and start building depth, because now this is warm. This is warm to Julio. You follow? This is warm to him. And then you're in the warm market. So write that down. I recruit cold to immediately get into the warm market. And that's the beauty of the playbook. That's what the playbook is all about, right? You recruit, help them get 4, so they pay no more. But guess what's happening for your business? You're now in the warm market business. And that's where you want to be, okay? Second reason is over 60% of people own a home. It's actually higher than that. Write that down. 65% of Americans own a home. 65% of Americans own a home. So what does that mean? That means that they become a product of the product. The more you recruit in the warm market, the more what's called in the industry internal consumption you're going to get. Throw one in the chat if you own one of the products in our company, whether it's water, whether it's security, whether it's the solar. Throw one in the chat, or you plan on becoming a customer, right? Maybe you're going to buy a house next year when you're making a couple $100,000 a year, $1 million a year, right? You're going to buy a house. Aren't you going to put solar panels on it? Isn't it going to be freedom through Encore Solar? Of course. So what's my point? The bigger your network, your distribution, the more internal sales that are going to happen automatically. Okay. So that's a big reason to recruit, right? You help them go solar. Another is, number 3, you have easier solar water split training sales, right? Ripple Secure, whatever we sell, you have a lot easier sales when it's going through the warm market. You see, when you got Julio here talking to Michael, guess what? They have a relationship. That's a much easier sale. Why is that? You can write this down. Sales is built on one main word: trust. You could have the greatest product in the world, right? I could have, you want to buy a Mercedes, and I'm going to sell you a Mercedes that costs $100,000, but I'm going to sell it to you for $50,000. Great price, right? I'm giving you 50% off. But if you don't trust me, something about that guy I don't trust. Maybe there's no transmission in the Mercedes, right? This guy's ripping me off. He's a slimy, shady salesperson. Something about him, they're not going to buy it. Sales, you need the product that they need, a service or product they need, but you also got to have trust. That's the beauty of what we've got here, folks. This trust is built in warm recruiting. So you get easier sales, easier leads. You know, everybody always says, hey, I want leads. Anybody ever heard that before? Throw one in the chat. How do you get leads? I want leads. Right, well, here you don't have the Glengarry leads, you got the JC leads. How about that? That's a good little movie you guys should watch, right? Glengarry, Glenn Ross. But anyway, here you got the JC leads. You know what those are? Warm leads. You recruit somebody and you train them in their warm market and you get a lead, okay? Next, 4, overrides, okay? The overrides, what are overrides? Well, boy, do I love this compensation program, okay? That means that if you recruit people are being recruited, even if you're not involved in the sale, let's say you're not the mentor and you're not the mentee, right? You get overrides on all the sales going on in your organization. Think about that. So literally here, you could be someone that says, you know what? I want to become a recruiter and a builder. I don't even want to sell. I don't want to be involved in sales. And if you build a network, an organization big enough, you'll make multiple 6 figures. You'll make millions of dollars a year just in overrides, okay? And number 5, my favorite. Oh, I like them all. I like them all. You get to grow your dual team income and your monthly residual. You get to grow that because as your network grows, your income grows. Okay. And see what I have your champion, right? Because those are the 1%ers you're going to find. Okay. Throw one in the chat. Seriously. Throw one. Not yet. Hold on. You don't know what I'm going to say. Throw one in the chat if you would like to override, have in your team, Mr. Samuel Bean. Throw one in the chat. Throw one in the chat if you would like to override a JC. Throw one in the chat if you would like to override a Wences. Throw one in the chat if you would like to override the Pachecos. Throw one in the chat if you would like to override Julio Aquino. Throw a one in the chat if you would like to override a Jabari. Would you like to override all those people? Yes? Well, guess what? That's the power of recruiting and building a team. You're going to find them. What do you think? There's only one JC out there? No. There's only one JC Rangel, right? With his DNA, with his fingerprints, right? But the championship mentality, the winning mentality, I want to be somebody mentality. There's a lot of those out there. They're called the 1%ers. You know how many there are? Just talking the United States. There's 330 million people in the U.S. right now. 330 million. You know what 1% of that is? I'll just keep the number simple. That's over 3 million 1%ers. Over 3 million of people that when you recruit them, you know what they say? Get out of my way. Just tell me what I got to do. What do I got to do? I got to get my certification. I got to get my 4. They do it in the first week. Would you like people like that? It only happens through recruiting. Out of every 100, you're going to find a superstar. That's it, folks. You can't fight the numbers, right? Life is numbers. Believe it or not, life is numbers. Life is math. Write this down. That's not in the presentation. And I want you to look it up later because you may not believe me, okay? A group of scientists from, it was the USA, I think, in Europe, okay? A group of scientists and statisticians, $50 word. They wanted to figure out what is the statistical probability, what is the mathematical statistical probability of a human being born? Think about that. Have you ever thought about that? What is the mathematical statistical probability of you being born? I got the number for you. 400 trillion to 1. 400 trillion to 1. You could add up all the lotteries in every state across the nation, add up all the lottos, and they don't reach 400 trillion. That's why they say it's a miracle to even be born. Think about that. Life is math. Life is numbers. The fact that you're born is a miracle, but it was 400 trillion to 1. And we're not going to do a class on biology here, right? But you know all those little sperm, right? They're all fighting, right, to get to the target. There's like hundreds of millions, only one reaches it. But it goes deeper how they come up with that number. So look it up in YouTube, the probability of being born, okay? It's 400 trillion to 1. So everything is numbers, folks. Business is numbers, right? So let me see what else I got here for you guys. I'm going to open up for Q&A here in a few. Okay, real quick, why recruit? Okay. It's the most effective way to get warm leads. We talked about that. It's the fastest way to building massive distribution. Oh, by the way, I did skip something here. Okay. Write that down. Take a picture. Some of you are in the solar business. Some of you are in the rainwater filtration business. Nothing wrong with that, but you're not going to get wealthy that way. See, just talking about solar. Freedom Forever is in the solar business. You, if you want to be a builder, you want to get wealthy, you need to be in the distribution business of solar. McDonald's is not in the hamburger business. They're in the distribution business of hamburgers and French fries and Cokes. That's why they sell the most. Not the best tasting burger, is it? But they sell the most every single day of the year for decades, right? McDonald's is number one. Why? They have the most distribution. They got like 30, 40,000 restaurants worldwide. Okay? So you want to be in the distribution business, right? So the fastest way to build massive distribution is through recruiting. Leverage your time through others. Only way to earn the big money. Now, you know, I know we talk about here, hey, man, you can make 6 figures in solar and selling water. You could. You could. You're not going to make multi-millions a year. There's not enough hours in a day. You will burn out, okay? You're not going to make that kind of money. And even if somebody says, yeah, man, I'm a stud. I can make $1 million a year selling solar. Well, go right ahead, okay? But you stay focused on building distribution, guess what? That guy or girl is going to burn out sooner or later. Because to make $1 million a year in solar, okay? I know Jabari made over 6 figures in 1 month. But imagine having to do 28 split solar sales every single month, and keep that up, and you can't go on vacation. Because if you go on vacation for a month to Italy or something, you got zero income. You got to build distribution. You want to make the big money. Salespeople wake up broke every single day. Okay? Yeah, sales is the highest paid profession. It is. Sales is the highest paid profession. The only problem is every month you got to sell more solar. You got to sell more water filtration, right? You want to be doing both. For those of you that got on a little bit late, write this down. I'm not telling you not to sell. Okay, don't say, hey, I'm not selling anymore. I'm not a mentor no longer. Ed said to not sell, just recruit. Wrong. My mentor taught me this way back. He said, sell to survive. Sell to survive, recruit to retire. You can walk and chew gum at the same time. So you're selling by recruiting people in the warm market. You're making sales, right? A couple sales to pay your bills. But you got to be recruiting and building a team. That's what's going to allow you to retire. If you get sick, you have an emergency, go on vacation. We just talked about, right? You don't close any sales, you don't get paid. The only way, this is a big one. This is a big one. The only way to legally sell your brokerage is by building a profitable sales organization. I don't know if you know this, but they're going to be announcing that you can own your own solar brokerage. Please throw some love in the chat for that, for the owners of our company. They're going to give you ownership. Let me explain to you what that means. Okay. If you invested money in a restaurant, right? Let's say you want to own a restaurant, right? I don't recommend it, not very good profit margins. But let's just say you open up a restaurant, right? And you run that restaurant for 20, 30 years. And then one day you're like, you know what? I'm tired of, owning this restaurant. I want to sell it. Can you sell it? Yes, you can sell it. Okay. What are you selling? You're selling the income stream, the profits of that restaurant. That's really what you're selling. Not really the location, right? Not really the location, right? You're renting the location. Doesn't matter if you own. That's not the value. The value is that restaurant produces, let's say, $1 million a year in profit, to make it simple, right? That's what you're selling. Here, guess what? You know what you're selling here? You're selling your income stream from your organization. That's what you're selling. You're selling your monthly residual income. That's a sellable asset. Yes, it's a sellable asset. If you're bringing in $55,000 a month from the dual team, right? You're an executive 55, and you're making a couple $100,000 overriding solar and water and security and whatever else we're going to have, right? And let's say you have a yearly profit of $1 million. Hey, that's worth a couple $1 million to somebody. They'll pay you a couple $1 million. You leave, you retire, and they continue with the business. They take over your cash flow. Okay. But if you're only selling solar and water, that's all you do is sell, and you decide to retire, guess how much your business is worth? Sorry to tell you, zero. It's not even worth $1, not even $1. Because you know what? The minute you retire, the income stops. So you have nothing to sell. So just knowing that you are going to be able to sell your business, you want to build, you want to recruit, you want to build a team because of that reason. Okay. That's why, as JC said, right? Yeah, I made a lot of money. I made over 8 figures in Primerica, but then I sold it for multiple 7 figures when I decided to retire. A guy named Charles out of Texas said, wait a minute, I'm over here in Texas. He was more on the West Coast. I want to be on the East Coast also. And my business was basically New York and Florida and New Jersey, around the East Coast. That's where my agents were. He goes, well, I want to be making money on that side of the country. Ed is selling his business, called me up, negotiated, sold it, right? And then I retired. So not only did I make millions, right, from overrides and right commissions, but I also sold it. Throw one in the chat that's pretty cool that you could do here. Not to just make millions of dollars, but then you could sell it for a couple million, okay? It only happens if you build an organization. Why recruit again? You're only as good as your last sale. You know, when you get a big sale and you make 20 grand, 30,000 on one solar, yeah, man, I'm so excited. I'm a stud. Yeah, but you got to do it over again. You're only as good as your last sale. There it goes. Sold to survive, but recruit to retire. It's the most important activity in direct sales. I'm not saying that selling is not important, but recruiting is the most important. Because why? It brings you in warm leads. You build an organization, right? We went over that. Oh, here's one of my favorites. You're always one recruit away from finding a superstar. You're one recruit away from changing your life forever. You're one recruit away from changing your entire family's future. Again, I ask you, imagine if you recruited a Sam Bean. How about this? You recruit Sam Bean on your left, you recruit JC on your right. Think about that. And you know what's amazing? Those champions, those superstars, they know other superstars. So they're going to attract other high quality leaders. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, guess what? Write this down. There's 3 million of those 1%ers in the United States. There's 3 million. And now we're going international. Ay, Dios mío. Now we're going international. So you're talking about the entire planet, Asia, Latin America, the 1%ers of all those countries. But you got to be recruiting. That's how you find them. Through large recruiting, you find the 1%ers, and you're one recruit away from changing your life. Okay? He or she that has the most people wins. Okay? I told you that story as I opened up the call. I'm sitting at a Super Saturday. That year I made about, I don't know, it was about 30, 40,000. And I'm looking at this guy getting an award, and he made like 350,000. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't mean to judge the guy. right? Because we shouldn't judge people, but I'm like, he's a little sloppy looking. He could barely put two sentences together. He looks all right, like razzled on stage. He doesn't even know what the heck he's talking about. That guy's making $30,000 a month, 10 times what I'm making. That's what got me to wake up and say, man, what is he doing? Oh, his team is 10 times bigger than my team. No wonder. Okay? So you don't have to be the best. You just got to override the best. Hey, write that one down. I don't have to be the best. I just got to override the best. Little people, little money. A lot of people, a lot of money. Hey, that's some beautiful grammar there. Would people like to learn about solar or about making more money? Think about that for 1 second. If you talk to 100 people, this is leading into the conversation, right? I always lead with the opportunity. I don't lead with solar. I don't lead with water. I lead with the opportunity. Unless, of course, it's different, right? If they say to you, hey, man, I heard you're in solar. I'm looking to get some solar. That's different. Lead it with solar. But I lead with the business opportunity because the business opportunity will always lead into solar sales, right? If they own a home. Because ask yourself this question. If you're at a party and there's 100 people at the party. Out of those 100 people, let's say they're all homeowners, how many of them want to talk about solar? You know what they think about solar? I got to spend money. It's expensive, right? But you know what? Out of 100, 99 out of 100 would love to make more money. So always lead with the opportunity. Okay? This is one of my favorite. Okay? Generic invite. You can do this anywhere. Anywhere. You could be in Target. Okay? You could be at the gym and just ask somebody. Let me ask you a question, bro. You know, you're a really sharp guy there. I just noticed you keep your income options open to side project if the money is attractive enough. Take a picture of that. You know, if you say that 10 times a day to 10 people, somebody's going to say, yeah, I'm looking for some extra money. What do you got? Okay. Check this out. Okay. The problem is, you know what your problem is, right? I shouldn't say it that way, right? But some of you are wondering, like, man, what's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just that you are letting the law of small numbers dictate your future. That's all. If you get the law of large numbers working for you, you'd be like, oh my God, I'm a superstar. I just found a Chris McHenry. Oh my God, I just found an Idris, right? Wow, I'm a superstar. No, it's that you get in the law of large numbers to find those winners, right? That's a great question. Okay, let me tell you what I used to do. Way back, right? We didn't have all the fancy stuff today. We got CRMs and all this stuff, right? We called it the 10 penny a day system. 10 penny a day system. You can still do it today. They taught us, get 10 pennies, put it in your left pocket, okay? And every time you talk to someone about the business, you move the penny to the other side. That's it, a simple system. And every day when I went out, okay, to work, okay, and I was in Primerica right at that time, when I would go to my office, okay, I would make sure that before I got home, if I had to go to a couple 7-Elevens, I would not get home till I talked to 10 people about my business because it's just the law of numbers. That's all it is, right? But you know how powerful that is? If you do that for 30 days straight, how many people did you talk to? 300. 300. You talk to 300 people about your business in 30 days. You'll have an explosion if you do that, okay? Exposing, all right? You know what? I'll cover this at another training. Let me open up for Q&A. Any questions, any objection, anything at all? Could we open up the room here so some people could ask questions? Juan or JC, you guys here?
I'm here, Ed, and it's open for Q&A.
Okay, good.
You got a fantastic job, by the way, since I'm here.
Oh, thank you, bro. Appreciate it. So anybody, any question, okay? Nothing off limits, but let's just keep it to recruiting and team building. Any objection, any question, anything that you want to get better at, anything at all? Juan, could you help me out with the questions there?
Yes, sir.
Just raise your hand.
All right. What's up, Ed? This is
Hey.
Johnny.
Hey, Johnny.
This is something that I got the other day, and I mean, JC was like, "Look, man, just kind of make it about posture. It is related to, I would say, I mean, let me just throw it out there. You tell me." So one thing I've got is more from people that are like business professionals and talking about like compliance. Like, hey man, I don't know if I can actually get money. I'm a business professional. I'm a licensed realtor. I'm this, I'm that. Even though I say, hey, we're working with those pros, but they tell me, hey, well, I got to make sure this is compliant. How do you address that? How do you tell somebody that?
Yeah, so just ask me the question and let's do it live. Ask me the question.
All right, Johnny, this sounds cool. I mean, Ed, this sounds cool. It sounds great. It's just look, first I got to make sure that this is compliant with what I do, because there's a bunch of regulations and restrictions, and I don't even know if I can get paid the commission that you're talking about.
Okay, Johnny, I understand how you feel. So if it is compliant, if you find out from your company that it is compliant, okay, are you looking to move forward with the business?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to find that out first. I don't want to waste our time, you see? So I'm going to ask him that if it is compliant, okay, so what's it going to take for you to find out, and how long is it going to take you for you to find out? I would imagine it's just a phone call for you to find out if this is if it's compliant. What is that going to take?
I'm gonna reach out to they never say upline, but I'm gonna reach out to my upline and see what they have to say. And I'm trying to get a hold of them. Their business.
Yeah. When just so we're on the same page, when can you get that done? Because I'm super busy and I'm working with a lot of people right now that we're onboarding. How soon can you get that done?
I would say by sometime next week. Just give me a shout sometime next week, and I should have it done. Hopefully have it done by then.
Okay, so today is Friday. I mean, can you get that by Monday?
Yeah, just give me a call. Just give me a call.
Great. And then I'll get a time and a call, like an appointment. Okay. Let's find out. Because I want to find out if this guy's serious or not. If he's like, this guy's not serious, next. Okay. Folks, let me just tell you this before I go to the next person. Write this down. You've got the gold. My mentor, Bob Saffer, said, you got the cookie. You've got the gold, not them. They should be begging you for this opportunity. That's the posture that I've got. My posture is, I don't even know if you're going to qualify to work with us. I got to see if you're the right kind of person. I don't know if you're a good fit. That's how I talk to people, by the way. I don't know if you're going to be a good fit for us. Okay, we want to make sure we're a good fit for each other. Tell me about yourself. What do you feel you could bring to our company to help us grow and help, both of us accomplish our goals? What is it you could bring to the company? Get them selling themselves. Don't you sell yourself to them. Please don't ever do that. My mentor used to say, don't be a recruiting beggar. Don't be a recruiting beggar. That's by your posture. That's by your body language. It's how you talk. Okay? Okay? And people respect that. People respect that, right? And that way they're not going to waste your time. So who's next? Rod? Go ahead, Rod.
Hey, Ed, can you unpack that a little bit about leading with the opportunity? Because I think I've kind of gotten in the habit of start talking about solar first. Can you unpack that a little bit, expound on leading with the opportunity?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Great information. Thank you so much.
Yeah. What I mean, Rod, is this, okay, is I'm not saying you should not have a solar conversation if it's appropriate for that, meaning somebody gave you a referral for solar, right? So somebody says to me, listen, Juan Estrella, he's a homeowner. He's looking to get some solar. No, I'm not going to lead with the opportunity, right? That's coming in as a solar referral. Anything like that, yeah, you're going to go for the sale, right? You're going to talk about the product. But other than that, I always lead with the business opportunity. What do I mean, right? It's two different conversations. I could say to you, hey, Rod, watch this. Rod, are you open to reducing your electric bill by 50% and owning your own electricity? Are you open to that? You're going to probably say yes. Or if I say, Rod, okay, are you open to side projects if the money is attractive enough? That's leading with the opportunity. That's the difference, Rod, right? So like 90% of your time should be leading with the opportunity. That's all.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yep. And then the thing is, when you lead with the opportunity, if they happen to own a home, which 65% of the people do, they might say, well, you know what? I'm good with my career. This is not something that I'm interested in, right? Well, then you say, well, by the way, are you a homeowner? Yeah, I'm a homeowner. Well, great. You know what? If we could show you how to cut your cost by 50%, would you be open to getting a free solar savings report? Okay, just to see if it makes financial sense for you. Yeah, great. But then you can go into, you go into the product. And by the way, before I forget, I even recruit people. I'll give you guys a little golden gem here. Okay, I even recruit people when I sell them solar or any product. Watch how easy that is. So after every sale, you should do this after every single sale. You ask the person after you close the sale, you say, listen, let me ask you guys a question. If there was a way that our company could help you, pay off that 25-year loan, get it paid off in the next probably 12 to 18 months. I mean, completely pay your loan off, okay? Is that something you'd be open to? 10 out of 10 are going to say yes. They're going to say, absolutely. They're going to say, absolutely, I'd be open to that, right? You say, well, guess what? We have a lucrative, okay, referral partnership. You believe in solar, you just qualify for solar, you want to get solar, well, guess what? Okay, anybody that you refer, just refer them, okay? Just like Billy connected us, right? Right? You get on a Zoom, bring your next door neighbor, bring your uncle, your brother, your mother, your sister that owns a home, we'll pay you 50%. So think about it. The average commission is $7,000, that's $3,500. In 12 to 18 months, you paid off your entire solar system, okay? So when can we get you started? Hey, guys, give me 1 second. I just got somebody they keep ringing my bell here. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Get your next questions ready. All right, team. We'll take a few more questions. Yeah, who's got the next question?
Hey Ed, Tim Neal here. How you doing,
Yes.
sir?
How you
Question
doing?
now, when you're asking people, do they keep their income options open? They say yes. What's your next transition? What do you push them to, a tool, push them to a meeting? What's that transition to get them to most effective?
Yep. Great question also. Okay, remember, we want to have duplication working in our favor, right? So think about this for a second. I can do the presentation, right? Most of you could do the presentation, okay? And if that's your style, you can do that, but I'm big on duplication. So I prefer getting them to a tool or getting them to a showcase, right? Because here's why. So Tim, right? Is that correct?
Yes, Tim Neal. Yes.
Tim Neal. Okay, Tim, right? So the reason I prefer a tool, right? And by the way, I set up an appointment. So write that one down. Always set an appointment to present the opportunity. I don't care if it's to get them to you click on the video, right? One of the business opportunity videos that JC has done, he's done a bunch of some great ones, right? They're on YouTube, right? You could click and share that with them or get them on a business showcase, right? Set up an appointment for it. Mm-hmm. So you set up an appointment to present them the information, and then when they see the information and they say, Tim, this is amazing, I'm ready to get started. Great, let's get you started, right? How do you want to take care of this? Visa, MasterCard, boom, close them and get them on board, right? They're going to remember, Tim, that all Tim did was get me to a showcase. All he did was play a video for me. Mm-hmm. If Tim starts doing a full-blown presentation, they're going to remember, they're going to go, wait a minute, okay, so I got to learn that presentation before I can recruit other people. I need some time, right? Because think about it, right? For someone to learn how to present takes some time. Now, it's different. It's different if you're doing a big business launch, right? You're doing a team launch with 20, 30 people. That's different. You got to do the business presentation. Now you're the leader and other people are pointing to the business, to the showcase, right? But the reason I like that, last thing I'll say about that is because if I set up an appointment with you and you say, yeah, I'm interested, man. I say, okay, great. When can we get together for about 15, 20 minutes so I could present you the information, okay? And see if it's a good fit, right? We don't even know if it's a good fit for you. You may not be a good fit for our company. When can I meet with you? And you say, okay, let's meet together. Let's get together tomorrow, Saturday at 2 o'clock. When I meet with you on a Zoom, Tim, or at Starbucks, wherever I'm at, I'm going to say, Tim, I'm going to share with you the information. And at the end, I'm going to ask you one question. So I'm just going to ask you, right? What did you like best about it? That's all. I'm just going to ask you one question. Okay, so let me present you the information. You see this finger here? See this finger? Mm-hmm. Click. And you might laugh, right? You see how simple that was, Tim? click, and then the video starts playing, and now you have JC doing the presentation.
Mhm.
Okay? Now they remember, wow, I could do what Tim did. All the guy did was press play. I saw the information and I joined. That's all.
That's good.
That's duplication. Yep.
Love it. Thank you, sir.
You got it. Who's next? We'll take a couple more. No more questions? Juan, are we good?
I see one in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, if you don't mind reading it there for me.
It's from Barbie. It says, how do you handle prospects who ghost you after you send them the video where they showed interest at the beginning?
Yeah, Barbie, great question. That's why it's better to set up an appointment. Okay? Set up an appointment to share with them the information. Okay? And if they ghost you, they only get one shot with me. You get one shot. That's it. Because I'm not going to chase you. Right? You're putting yourself in a begging position. That's why your language, your posture should always be, just write these couple words down, right? It's simple. I don't know if this is going to be a good fit for you. Let's get together. Okay, after you said, listen, you keep your income options open. Yeah, well, listen, let's see if this is a good fit for you. See? It's like, let's see if it's a good fit for you. I don't even know if this is something that, is going to benefit both of us, right? Let's get together. It's a new project I just got started in, whatever. Let's see if it's a good fit. When can we get together for about 15, 20 minutes? And the presentation takes about 15, 20 minutes. The video one does. The showcase a little bit longer, right? But, listen, if after 15 minutes you're not interested, just jump off. Okay? But yeah, Barbie, I don't chase people. Okay? I don't, because that puts me in a begging position. Let me ask you guys this question. Would you have to chase somebody who's offering you a chance to make millions of dollars a year for $199? Think about it, right? If Elon Musk said, invest $199, I'll allow you to come work with me so you can make millions of dollars at Tesla or SpaceX. I'm going to teach you how to run a Tesla location, right? You're going to be the VP of that location, and you're going to make millions of dollars a year. Elon Musk is going to teach you. Just pay $199. I'm going to teach you the whole business of Tesla, right? And you get to run it. You override it. You override all those cars being sold. Would he have to chase you? You got the same opportunity. You got to change that switch in your brain. You're the one that has the gold, folks, not them. By the way, no company that I'm aware of, no company has high ticket commission products plus this residual income. No company. We're the only one where they can make big money up front and big money monthly residual. We're the only game in town. So I'm not afraid to talk to anybody. I don't care how much anybody makes. Seriously. Okay, anybody else? We wrap it up?
Ed, it's not a question. I just wanted to tell you thank you for this.
You're welcome.
And also, it's great to be on a team with you again. I was A.O. Williams Primerica under Lafayette and Lawrence Walker.
Oh,
so,
wow. I know them. I know them. Yes. Yeah. Wow.
Back in the day. So it is just great, hearing from you and knowing the names you're calling out. And I got to see what you're talking about. And so everybody, I want y'all to know that what he is saying and what he has done and experienced, we're with the best. So good to be on a team with you. And I am definitely taking notes.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much. That's really, really awesome of you. And you know what's even better here than what we had at Primerica, believe it or not? And don't get me wrong, I love Primerica, right? That gave me my whole foundation of success, right? Changed my life. But in Primerica, I would help out the walkers, right? Because I did in the past, or Hector Lamarck, anybody, right? I would help them out just out of kindness. And they would kind of help out my organization. So we used to call it cross-pollinate. We would help each other, but it was out of kindness. I would never override Hector Lamarck's organization or Rick Suzy or Bob Stafford. I would never override them. But here you do. Here we help each other, but guess what? Throw a 1 in the chat if you're planning to get to at least executive director or national director. Throw a 1 in the chat. Well, if you are, we all override all the sales in the company, baby. It's the bonus pool. That's one of the most genius things that JC and Wences did is the bonus pool. Because once you get to executive director, not if, but when, we're all going to override all the sales together so we can all help each other, right? So I did it out of love because that's what I was taught in my former company, right? You do it to help each other, right? But here, we all get to win together. It's a beautiful thing. So thank you for that. All right. So listen, team, you know, I've just been here a couple months, right? And getting everything together. We're going to be doing a lot of training. Write this down. It's going to be every Thursday, same time, same channel, but it's going to be Thursdays, right? So every Thursday, block that out, okay? Unless there's something more important than learning how to build a massive organization and a massive residual income, unless you got something more important, then go do that. But I don't think so. So it'll be Sam Bean, JC, myself, the Pachecos, Julio, all the people that have made millions of dollars, right? They have their different perspectives, but they have all built big networks. And that's why we're here. We're here to build a big network, right? Because your network is your net worth, okay? So as I used to always say, my mentor would always say, when I look at you, I see the future multi-millionaires of Build Network. Make sure you see that when you look in the mirror. Okay. God bless you all. Have a great, productive weekend.